Good morning, and welcome to today's fireside chat presented on behalf of Independence Blue Cross. My name is Terry Booker. I'm a vice president of corporate development and innovation for the company. Today, our guests are Mayor James Kenney of Philadelphia and the Lowe's Company's North Division President, Mr. Q. Vance. I'd like them both to take a few minutes, starting with the mayor, to introduce themselves and give any background they'd like to, and then followed by Mr. Vance.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mayor Jim Kenney. I'm the 99th mayor of the city of Philadelphia. Was sworn in January 2016, ran for re-election, and was starting my first year of my second term, which I never expected to be the kind of year that we've had thus far. It's been very challenging, both from a health perspective and from a social perspective. We've had lots of issues around the country that affected Philadelphia also. Righteous public indignation and unrest over the handling and killing of Black people with the hands of the police. And we've been trying to sort ourselves out, both from a medical standpoint and from a social standpoint. And I think we're getting there. Obviously, we have a very contentious national election that's going on in the next couple of weeks, and we're just in a state of unrest, state of instability at this point. Doing our best to keep everything going, trying to deliver services to our citizens in the midst of an economic downturn, which we've never seen since the Great Depression. Lots of things going on in the country and in our city, but I think we're doing our best in keeping ourselves above water and moving forward. And I think one of the important things about this effort is that we need to bring all of our citizens forward together and raise all boats, which has not been done in a long time. So we're hopefully that this event will give some insight and some direction on how we can help each other to be the best that we can be.
Q?
Okay. All right. So, hey, good morning, everybody. First and foremost, just very glad to be here. Appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this event and represent Lowe's. My name is Quonta, Q for short, Vance, and I am the divisional president for the Northern Division of Lowe's. I cover and represent 605 stores across 23 states. And, just really wanted to take a minute to just say, the mayor, resonate on what he just said. I mean, this is definitely a challenging time for our country, and for me as a Black man, and also a leader in this corporation. I just want to be able to do anything I can to lend to helping to heal and to be a part of the solution. So couldn't be more humbled and grateful to have this opportunity today.
Thank you, Q. Just to give a little bit of background, Rise Up Philly was created by Jefferson Innovation to create economic solutions and new opportunities for underrepresented communities. This event will provide industry expert speakers, mentors, resources for access to capital, prototyping of ideas, business development, and networking opportunities for businesses that have been affected by COVID and social injustice. The Rise Up Philly event could translate value for businesses to solid economic future for entrepreneurs and their families. We will be awarding cash prizes totaling up to $100,000 in the categories of aspiring entrepreneurs, emerging entrepreneurs, established entrepreneurs, and prototyping concepts. So with that, everybody has a little background, and now we can start our chat a bit. So Q, we'll start with you. Can you talk a little bit about how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. So listen, I consider myself one of the most blessed, people in the world. I grew up in a small town in Tennessee. A single parent mother. My mom was shot when I was 7, so she was quadriplegic throughout most of my life. And I was blessed enough to play ball, got a scholarship, went to the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, got my undergraduate degree there. And then when I graduated, didn't like most people, like most young kids when they graduate, didn't really know what they were going to do. So I took a job in retail. So 25 plus years later, 3 great companies later, I'm blessed to work for this great organization of Lowe's. After doing numerous positions throughout retail, traveling all across the country. And now I am the divisional president of Lowe's, and I'm able to give back and help people and really hopefully make a difference in people's lives. So that's a quick synopsis of my career.
Well, to keep going, Q, can you talk a little bit about what Lowe's has done to support Black and brown businesses and entrepreneurs, and why it's important? As you know, there was a lot of damage sustained to your store here in West Philadelphia. So when you think about that, talk about what you're doing for that community.
Yeah, well look, listen, when you think about just Philly, and I have some personal connection there. My wife is from North Philly. So my wife grew up on 29th and Turner Street. Her and her family had a barbershop on 29th and Columbus Boulevard. So Philly is very passionate to me, even outside of work. And, I take great pride in working for a company and working for a CEO and Marvin Ellison that allowed us to reopen our West Philly store after the challenging times of the looting that happened. That entire store was looted. We lost almost everything, but the community, the associates, the shoppers there, they all implored that we come back. They all came out and helped us clean the store up. And I couldn't be more proud to say that when we reopened that store in September, it was a great event. And the team there, the associates, the customers, everybody that was involved, they all had a helping hand, and we feel like we're a great part of the Philadelphia community.
So as you talk about that community effort here, what is Lowe's generally doing for Black and brown businesses, not only here, but across the country?
Yeah, listen, I think our company, well, I know our company, we've taken a leading role into that. We've done a number of things. So, during this unprecedented pandemic, we partnered with LISC, which is a great nonprofit, and we donated over $100 million to them. $55 million of that has gone to grants that we are awarding to minority owned businesses, both minority, women-owned, and also rural businesses. Because when you think about it, one of our major focuses has been taking care of our associates and our customers. But the reality of it is that that also extends outside of our stores. So we are awarding these grants to these businesses. You can go online and apply to try to help keep them afloat. Because as you look through this pandemic, there are tons of community businesses and private businesses that are already closed and will continue to close. And so we just want to do what we can to help be a part of helping keeping the economy afloat, and also just our customers and our associates. Many of our associates, their families run businesses, and we felt that it was a great role that we could play to give back to our communities that our stores are placed in, and really help to help be a part of the solution. So that $55 million will continue to go out. We've already have a number of small businesses that have applied and been awarded these grants, and we hope to have many more.
Mayor Kenney, we're going to switch it to you for a second. Just so as the senior executive for the city of Philadelphia, can you talk about how the public and private sectors came together to create a space for minority entrepreneurs to thrive in light of this, in light of COVID-19?
Well, it's not only COVID-19, it's the history of our country, which has been unfair and a terrible history that we've had. We love our country. We all want our country to do well, but we have to acknowledge the inequities and the unfairness that this country was built on. 400 years of racism and slavery and oppression. It's not something that we're proud of, but it's something we have to acknowledge. The most important thing is to acknowledge the disparity that exists in business and in social life in our country. You can try to avoid it. You can try to say it doesn't exist, but it does exist, and we've seen it evidenced in what we've been through in the last number of months. People righteous indignation in our streets of our city, and it seems like there's a period of time in every generation where this emanates and is shown back in the 60s and back in the 1870s with a gentleman who's behind me in statuary. We're fighting for the right to vote. This has been an ongoing effort to make the words of the Constitution mean the same for everyone, and it doesn't mean the same for everyone. So the first thing that business and government has to do is acknowledge that disparity exists, and to be intentional about changing that disparity. That can be done through companies like Lowe's and others that acknowledge it and try to address it and fix it, and governments that try to open up opportunities for people of color to take part fully in our society. The thing that I learned when I was on the board of Blue Cross for about 20 years, and I served on the minority hiring and contracting committee for about 20 years. And the thing that I admired about Blue Cross is that their efforts were twofold. Number one, it was an effort to fix the inequities that exist. The second part of it, which is what companies need to understand, is that it's good for your company because you're creating members for Blue Cross, you're creating customers for Lowe's, you're creating wealth and people getting better than they are, so they can become better citizens, better customers, better members of Independence Blue Cross, and just better off. If we do those things like crime and violence and addiction and homelessness and all will begin to ebb. But we have to allow people to become part of the value of society, part of the value of business, part of the value of government. And unless we treat everybody equal and get everybody to an equal spot, we will continue to be mired in poverty. We'll be continue to mired in the social ills that we deal with. And it's the solution is not that complicated, because what you have to do is just acknowledge that the inequities exist and then address programs and policies to fix those inequities and to address those inequities. And you have to get by the racism that white people will say, well, I didn't own slaves and I didn't do this, I didn't do that. It doesn't matter. I'm the descendants of Irish people. We came to this country, we were treated badly, but the fact of the matter is my skin is white and we spoke English. So it was easier for us to assimilate and become part of the culture, even though people who are Black people who have been in this country for 400 years still haven't fully found a way to or allowed a way to assimilate into this country fully as equal citizens. And it's terrible. For me, it's as a mayor of the fourth or fifth largest city in the country, it's extremely disappointing and frustrating for me to see how many of our citizens have to live because of these systemic racial inequities that still exist today and still persist today. And I think that if government and business get together and continue to acknowledge that and fix it and begin to fix it, we'll never meet what this country was about in the first place, and that's full democracy and full inclusion.
Sure. Thank you for that answer. I've lived in Philadelphia probably for about the last 20 years and did business here as a youngster out of college. And Philadelphia has been one of the first cities that has had a minority business development program in terms of procurement and contracting. So since you've had that for so long, what can you and what can the city do differently now, because you've had it all along, what can you do differently now to promote the use of Black businesses? I mean, a lot of the things that were in the contract and in the contract law have requirements. So how do you loosen those requirements to allow more to have an opportunity?
Well, there's a couple things. I mean, you have to be intentional about what you do. Be intentional in making sure that people have the resources and information that they need to compete. You have to sometimes provide resources when it comes to capital, when it comes to grants and resources that will allow people to expand their business and to hire other folks. You have to remember, I mean, for every business that we help start, for every business we help thrive, though that business will hire people, and generally they will hire people from their own neighborhood, which will be people who look like them, which will give them the opportunity to start and, as Q said, start in retail or start in restaurant, or start in some other business that will allow these young people to understand there's another way other than the corner, other than the street. And the other important part is that, and this is I've learned this, I'm 62 years old. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I have learned this particular issue. The way out of poverty, the way up is education. And unless we as a society, as a national government, as a state government, as a local government, recognize that if we don't invest in education, our kids will never be able to claw themselves out of where they're at. I'm absolutely certain of this, is that the more we invest in our public schools, the more we invest in job training and job readiness, the better we will be as a society. And again, as Blue Cross invested in minority business contracting and minority hiring and contracting, makes their business strong. The more we invest in education and opportunity, the more taxpayers we'll have, the more people will have buying homes and paying real estate taxes, the more people will have that will raise good kids in a safe environment. All that's important. And the problem is that this our national model has been of one of you do for yourself, and you succeed on your own, and you don't worry about anybody else, and dog eat dog. That don't work. I mean, it hasn't worked in this country in its history, and we have to reach back, take care of each other, help each other, and do the best that we can to make people have the opportunity to succeed in life. And once we all succeed, this country will be much better than it is today.
Sure. Thank you for that. Q, I don't know that, not to put you on the spot, and this is a little off script, but you mentioned the $55 million from Lowe's. Have you thought about, or has Lowe's thought about how they would partner with cities and other companies to basically leverage all of that money so that minority business can, in the near term, qualify for a lot of the contracts, or at least be a supplier to a lot of the contracts? Because, I sit on the PIDC board, and there are just things that today minority businesses are ill-equipped to do just because of their financial foundations. So can you talk about that $55 million in that light?
Yeah, look, I would hope that there would be more, retailers and businesses out there that would do the same. There are a lot of companies out there that are, trying to give back and do similar things. The $55 million, we have a breakdown of communities and cities that we've donated to. Several have already been donated to the Philadelphia area, and I'm proud to say that. I don't know the exact number, but we've already had a number of businesses there that we've awarded this to. And I just think that this is going to have to be a must as we move forward. When you just think about what the mayor talked about, when you think about where we are as a country, and these minority businesses, they are the fuel that runs our communities. I mean, look, I work for a big box. I work for a company that's been around for years, very stable, very financially secure. But when I drive home, when I go to my house, I pass by a number of mom and pops. I pass by a number of places that are vital to the communities that we live. They're vital to our kids that are growing up. And so, at Lowe's, we just wanted to be out front. It was something that we thought that was vital, and when you think about our fundamental foundation and our core values, we just really felt that we can't say that we want to be a part of the community and not give back to the community. So my ask would be that more retailers, more businesses that can, they do this, and we just want to be at the forefront of it. So like I said, this is something that we just kicked off. This $55 million we think is a great start, and we hope that it'll benefit and it'll get some fruitful value.
Well, can you also talk about, Q, what you've had to do for your employees and their families as it relates to COVID-19 and health benefits? I don't know if Lowe's was an essential service, so I don't know if you remained open, you had to close stores. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Listen, just as the mayor said, and everybody knows, I mean, this pandemic has been something that none of us have really seen in our lifetime. And so for us as a retailer, it has been extremely tough. And we've done a lot. I think that everybody could probably always say you could do more. But when I look at our company, I'm proud of the things that we've done for our associates. First and foremost, our first objective was to put our associates and customers first, for their safety. So, we've donated over $700 million to our communities and associates. We've donated over $670 million to associate wages and bonuses. I just think back 25 plus years ago when I was a law associate starting out in retail. I couldn't imagine going through this pandemic where, hey, if I was out there when I was making $5.75 an hour and my place of business shut down, or my mom or dad, or girlfriend or wife, their place of business shut down. I mean, and not knowing how I would make it. So, we've done a number of things financially. We've given them 3 off-cycle bonuses to part-time and full-time associates to try to help through this pandemic. From a safety standpoint, we have, consistent protocols in the stores, cleaning protocols, shield guards at every register, at every customer-facing, area in the store. We mandated that every employee, even before it was mandatory across the nation by states, to wear masks. So we've tried to take every protocol that we could to keep our associates safe, while also staying open. Because when you think about what we do and what we sell, during the prime of this pandemic, and even now, there's certain things that we sell in our stores that people have to live. And so, I just really, applaud our associates that continue to come to work every day, to be here for the people in their community. So you can come to our store and get something that's essential for you to provide for your family. We open up every day. We've had some times where we've had to shut down stores, for a while. We've been in communities and cities where regulations have required us to do things different from a business standpoint. But overall, I couldn't be more proud of all the associates in our company and the leadership for allowing our stores to not only operate, but operate at a level where I feel like we've done everything that we could do to make sure that our associates and customers both are safe.
Awesome. Mayor Kenney, you alluded to this in your initial comments. Can you, and during the last, 8 or 9 months, since many of whom have been home and watching different things on television, you've been very prolific, and I want to thank you personally for that. I watched that on television, and when you think about Black and brown people and how it's essential for everybody to thrive, can you just talk about that a little bit more and talk about the city's role as Q did in terms of making sure a lot of its employees are frontline employees? So what have you had to do to kind of steady the ship on that and also enhance the view of Black and brown people?
Well, I mean, our initial responsibility was to make sure people were safe and healthy, and we had to make decisions to shut down, to lock down some certain areas of our economy and our government to make sure that people were safe. And then the economic pressures, the political pressures to reopen as things move forward were very difficult to deal with. I mean, and again, you have to remember that Black and brown people, when it comes to COVID, were affected even more so than white folks. I mean, the underlying health issues that Black and brown people have dealt with before COVID, diabetes and other kinds of issues that made it even worse when people got sick, and then having the opportunity or the ability to get to people to test. The Black Doctors Consortium that we work with, who were out in the neighborhoods actually testing people, making sure that people were, getting the help that they need and getting the advice that they need was extremely important in getting and corralling the virus and corralling the spread of it. We've done very well in our city as far as keeping caseloads down and keeping deaths down. We went through a period of time where we had to set up Leah Corris Center at Temple University as a field hospital with hundreds of beds and ventilators and other things. And thankfully, I think we only used 2 or 3 beds in that whole period of time. But we had to set it up just in case we had the bed shortages in our hospitals. I think people are very resilient. I think Black and brown people are obviously more resilient than anyone else because the things that they've been through and still have survived and thrived in terrible situations. And I think that that's what's important for the government, is to kind of be an example, as to be a symbol of equity and not inequity. And I think that businesses like Lowe's and like Independence Blue Cross, they get it. I mean, I don't have to convince them. But there are other entities in the city and in the country that need to be brought along, that need to be incentivized or penalized when they don't do the right thing, when they don't have make their resources accessible to everyone in a fair manner. And I think that the government, whether it's the national government, state, or local government, and sadly enough, the national government is not doing it. The state government through Governor Wolf does the best they can, but there are competing interests, in the legislature that keep him from fully allowing us to realize the state's ability to do this. But in the city government, I think we have more capacity. The COVID-19 and the accompanying economic downturn has made it more difficult. But we've worked with our partners. We work with the Philadelphia building trades, construction trades, to kind of open up opportunities for young people who don't necessarily have a college education, but who want to work with their hands and want to make a living where they can make $30, $40, $50 an hour with benefits. I mean, these are opportunities that the government has the ability to guide and direct, because a lot of this are government contracts, government construction contracts, government service contracts. We deal with our labor unions in an equitable way, trying to get the minimum wage up to $15 or more. And we've been very successful in doing some of those things to raise people's opportunity and to raise the ability for them to take care of themselves and take care of their kids. I think that's the most important thing. You have a lot of negative people who complain about, public welfare and socialism and all this other stuff you hear these days. It's not about that. It's about giving people the opportunity and pathways so they can do for themselves, and those pathways have been blocked systemically for generations. Our job, I think, as a government and as public officials, is to remove those obstacles and to allow people to flow through those pathways and to become their true selves and become the people that they can be. And I think that if that happens, whether in my lifetime or after my lifetime, we will be a better society for it, and a much richer society for it. Because for every person that you help raise themselves, they become customers, they become clients, they become benefits to everyone else. And I think that that's something that as a government, we need to get through to people's sets, that this is a good thing to do. And it's not charity. It's not, doing a good thing because it's a good thing to do. It's a smart thing to do. And it's the economically smart thing to do.
Thanks. Q, you mentioned, I'm going to go back, the 55 million is just such a big number and so important. Can you talk about the types of projects that would be approved or that would be eligible for this type of money? Because one of the things about Rise Up is that Jefferson has often had innovation challenges, hackathons, and things like that. So just want to make sure that for those who are watching, where that money, how that money can be used, and who should apply for those grants.
Yeah, so once again, it's $55 million that we have partnered with LISC to present as grants for these small businesses. And there is a simple process online, but it is for any small business, but our focus is on diverse, minority, female, rural. Those are typically those are the guidelines. So if you are a diverse small business, female owned, or rural, because rural is also very important as well. Because some of these small businesses that are in rural areas, they don't have the support or the supply to continue to compete as well. So if you visit us, if you go on the Lowe's.com, there is a link for this grant. And it'll tell you all about what the qualifications are as far as the ins and outs. But those are really the pillars. As long as it is like I said, diverse, women, female-owned, or rural, then you're eligible.
Thanks, Mayor. Since COVID, kind of, I guess more, for lack of a better word, surprised everyone and is creating some opportunities. Can you speak about anything specifically that the city has done in the last 8 or 9 months that will enhance, the ability for people that live in urban areas and these highly dense populations, as you mentioned, Black and brown people that were disparately affected by COVID? How do they, are there programs for them to improve their homes, to do things where they may not have great ventilation? Can you talk about any of the efforts that the city has undertaken?
We've been dealing with micro loans and grants for small businesses in business districts and business strips in our city. A lot of those folks have experienced the unfortunate looting that took place, which took place at Lowe's in West Philly. And I was out there the day after it all went down. And the thing that I recognized was that people cared about that store, cared about the other stores in that area. Were out there with the first thing they came out with were brooms and shovels and trash bags, and was cleaning up the neighborhood. I mean, everybody recognized that the looting was horrible and unfortunate and sad. And I don't understand the dynamic of the looting dynamic, but people seem to get by it and said it happened. Now let's clean it up. And we're out there. I mean, grandmoms and granddads and moms and dads were out there with their brooms and shovels and cleaning up and getting the place back to normal, and watching companies, businesses like Lowe's put their stores back together again. And I think in some ways, the looting was horrible and unfortunate, but very cathartic in some ways, that people realized what they had and what was destroyed and wanted to put it back as soon as possible. And I think that made the neighborhood and the community stronger as a result of it. So the city helping with those kinds of resources to help businesses get back on their feet. Big box stores like Lowe's do that, but also at the same time having the mom and pop stores, get back to the new normal. I don't think we're ever going to be normal again. It's always going to be the new normal post pandemic. 2020 has been a horrible year, but 2020 is perfect vision, and maybe a perfect vision that we have after 2020 will allow us to move forward and to improve things beyond what we've tried to do already. I think that we as a city pay great attention to trying to contract with minority businesses and women-owned businesses as much as possible. We need to provide resources for minority-owned businesses when it comes to capital and their capacity to grow as a company. We've reduced some of our bid numbers so that minority-owned businesses can bid as a prime. We found in the past that when minority-owned businesses are part of a kind of a general, just members of a general contract, they wind up having to chase the general contractor around to get paid. So we've tried to reduce those thresholds so that minority businesses can bid as prime contractors on various, whether it's construction or service contracts or insurance or anything that is available to bid for the city. And again, I think, as I said when I first started, businesses and governments need to be intentional. They need to recognize and admit the fact that there's disparities and deep disparities, and then they have to be intentional about addressing and fixing those disparities. And if we continue doing that, again, we'll be better off for it, all of us, both socially and financially.
Thanks. Q, do you want to say something as some closing sentiments as it relates to the folks that are watching this interview?
Yeah, first of all, just once again, just very, very thankful and humble to be a part of this. As I said, as I started, this is definitely a challenging time in our country, in the world. And, I'm just blessed to be a part of a company that gets it, that understands. And, the mayor has used the word intentional a number of times. And, and that's what we're trying to be. We're just trying to be intentional in giving back to our communities, taking care of our associates and our customers, and we're unapologetic about it. I get the opportunity to come and to do things like this, to really kind of tell the things that we're doing, but we will continue to be a part of the solution. And I would implore that more companies, more people do this. And that's the only way we're going to get our country back on track. So I want to thank all of our associates out there and all the communities that we're in. We really appreciate everybody's support, and hopefully we can continue to help fix and get this country back on track.
Well, thanks. I'd like to take the opportunity now to thank you, Q, for joining us today. Mayor Kenney, thank you for your time. Just also wanted to mention that Independence Blue Cross has teamed up with Jefferson for the last 6 or 7 years in their innovation space and in healthcare in general to figure out great solutions to take care of the health of the communities that we serve here in Philadelphia and around the country in our different businesses. I also wanted to make sure that the viewers of this podcast or webcast or whatever you're calling it know that the Rise Up Philadelphia series will continue now through December 13th with a final judging taking place on that day. So please keep your eyes and ears open and tune in on the internet and your different media channels to make sure that you're aware of what's going on here. And with that, I'd like to say thank you and good afternoon.
Take care.
Thank you.